Hey everybody, welcome back to I Know a Guy. If you're new here, my name's Anthony. I'm a business profit advocate. On this show, we interview entrepreneurs, business owners, professionals, and just people doing cool things. For example, today we're meeting Ed Pisani Jr. He is a dedicated charity coach passionate about helping individuals turn their visions into thriving nonprofit organizations. With his comprehensive 501c3 startup services, Ed guides aspiring foundations through every step, from incorporation to fundraising to board recruitment, ensuring they have the tools and support needed to create meaningful impact. How are you doing this morning, Ed?
Great. Thank you for having me come on your show. I'm really passionate about what I do, and I'm glad that you allow me the chance to speak to your audience.
No, I was excited to see, and learn a little bit about you because, I think I definitely have it in my heart with, everything that I'm doing as well to help people in that situation, help nonprofits because everything that I can do to help them, I know is going to a good cause. So, you get that little extra sense of, I did a good thing today. So
Yeah,
was
for
super
sure.
excited to learn and pick your brain a little bit. So start off, where are you calling in from? Where are you at?
I'm in Florida, so I'm in Central Florida area, Orlando market, and I'm very active here. Been here since 2009 as a business owner and as a coach, a consultant. I have a do web work as well. So over those past 10 plus years, 15 years now, actually, doing the math on it. My goodness. I've done about 10 or 15 charity startups a year. So about one a month. And that's a lot when you do the math. And it's kind of started as a passion project, and then it flowed into something more. My very first one was a salsa dance. Excuse me. A salt. Hmm. Got a little something in my throat.
You and me both. It's going around.
Mhm.
No, before we get into that though, like,
Sorry
are
about
you
that.
new to are you new to the Florida area or have you been there for a while?
I was actually born and raised in Louisiana, lived up in New Jersey, worked in North Carolina and Florida, so I bounced up and down the East Coast.
Hmm.
But yeah, um, I have been doing that for quite a while.
Okay,
So yeah,
awesome.
that's my.
I've been to Florida a few times. I've never made it as far into it as Orlando.
Mhm.
Closest I think I got was what is it, St. Augustine. But when you get all the way down there, what do you do for fun? What's kind of your go-to if you have friends coming to visit?
I do a lot of things. I go camping with my daughter. I'm part of the Scouts, so we're active doing that. Good portions of weekends we go camping together. I like doing jigsaw puzzles. I like just going out, seeing the different places. Florida is known for having so many different tourist traps that you can go up and down and see them all. Me and my wife like going to check out the beaches, so that's very nice, and we enjoy that. And just the great part about Florida, go from the east or west coast, there's beaches up and down
Mhm.
the whole state. So you just find a new one, a little beach community, very friendly people, eager to have you have lunch there and just enjoy the views. Yeah, so it's nice.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed Florida as a visitor. I'm prone to sweating, so I'm more of the northern state kind of guy where it's like, okay, not that we don't get hot here. It's just, we have the option to not be as well. So
Yeah.
awesome. Okay, great. Well, yeah, back to kind of what you're doing and everything. You said that you started off, you do about 10 to 15 a year. What can you tell us
Correct.
about, that?
It's a lot of fun because every time I meet someone new, it's like their wedding day type of vibe, and they're really excited to work with me. I'm really excited to work with them. I'm catching everyone when they're really happy to get together and start this up. And my biggest question to them is like, what is your passion? Why are you doing this? What is your end game goal for like this charity? And that kind of leads into a little dialogue and long discussion in reference to us getting on the same page of what they need to do and why they're doing it and what they're looking to achieve with their charity. A lot of times I see a lot of charities that look like they're the same, but when you start talking to the board members, you find out they're completely different because they have different missions. So that's kind of the fun part about it. And it's always someone new, someone different that comes in the door and wants to talk to me. So I'm kind of excited to always look for the next individual that needs some coaching. I'll help them through their thing. I Every charity I've started up, I've had 100% success in getting them a 501 status, which is really cool.
Yeah, that is really cool. From my experience working, with charities in the areas that I do, a lot of them, they're very passion driven. They're go, go, go. We have good things we want to do, and they're very passion driven. So 6 months into it, they're like, okay, we need to figure some stuff out. So
Yeah.
I know a lot of them could probably use, help saying, okay, this is stuff that's coming your way that, I know you're really let's go get them. But it's better to have a solid foundation. That way, in 6 months, you can actually grow instead of trying to backtrack and figure the stuff out that you're kind of skipping over now. So, is
Correct.
that kind
Yeah.
of been your experience with them as well, or?
It varies. Some people come in, they have board experience. Some of them are completely just fresh, have no experience whatsoever. So everyone is a little bit different. I try to package things up in a nice group of sessions. So one session we talk about board development. One session we talk about fundraising. One session we talk about something. I'm sorry, 1 minute. Mucus was in my throat. I'm sorry about that.
You're good.
Let me try that again. Uh, I break everything up into packages. So one session is board related. One session is actually startup related. One session is about fundraising. One session is about how you're going to impact the community and the results you want to get. One session is about goal planning. So I try to break it up in a way where they are successful in the onset and they're sort of looking down the line and thinking not a few weeks out, but a few years out and saying, how are we going to do this? Like, do you want to have paid professionals or not? Is it going to be a working board or operating board, governing board? These are conversations that need to happen on day one. So when 6 months comes in, they're having dialogue with each other, which is productive, not reactive.
Mhm. Yeah, no, and that's an important step. And regardless whether charity, business, whatever it is, you need to have that where it's like, okay, we're not being swamped. It's like, okay, we're planning. There's a big
Yeah.
difference between those two. So awesome. So you said, you got started. How long have you been doing this?
I've been doing it since 2009. Like
2009.
basically started as a passion project. And what I did is I worked with a salsa dance company and it was just really pretty girl. And at the time I was a bachelor and she was like, I want to do this. And I was working with the charity and I was starting up organizations with the charity. And I was like, you know what? This is not much of a stretch if I just sort of say, what happens if I do an organization outside of this charity and take it and start it up? And I did. It was successful. And I was back in the old days where everything was in pencil and paper and it was not as easy as it is today. And like now we have Zoom and we have all these digital assets that we didn't have back then.
Okay, I got you. So
Yeah.
you've been doing it long enough. Obviously, you're getting good at it at this point. It's over a
Yeah.
decade. What's your favorite thing about what you're doing? You've had a lot of experiences through it.
My favorite part about it is I get to meet really interesting and dedicated people in the community. That's it. They come in the door and you could tell they care. And it's like the best of the community and the people that have a heart and want to give back. They may have been successful in life, or they may have just seen the need, where they're like, hey, we need to do this for this reason. And I feel honored that they will come to me and say, hey, we want you to help us and we want you to coach us to be successful.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I like that. So a lot of times when people are starting out in business or charity, whatever it is, there's some common speed bumps that they're going to run into. What's the most common ones that you're seeing, for people in that charity space?
Board relationships is like the number one piece because you have board members that don't get along, you have board members that don't agree, you have board members with different visions and ideas. So those relationships are make or break the first year because you'll start with someone and say, this person, man, we just nanu nanu. And then you find out they're a control freak and they want to do it their way. Everything has to be their way, the highway. And then you might have someone that says, yeah, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And then they do nothing. So that board development is a big piece.
Okay. What strategies do you recommend for recruiting a dedicated and effective charity board, that aligns with the mission that they're going for?
I dig deep with the individual. I say, okay, what do you want your board to do? Do you want them to be a governing board? Where they're coming together 4 times a year to vote? Or do you want to have a working board? Because if you start in the beginning and say, what type of board are you looking to do? Answers all the questions. Because there's some founders that come in the door and say, I want to do it all. I want to have a board that supports me, but they're not doing it. And then there's other founders that come in and say, I want to have people boots on the ground. We're all digging the trench together. And if you know that on day one, and you talk about that on day one, 6 months in, that's not an issue.
Okay. So for most folks out there, they're coming into the space not having worked in, the nonprofit world or charity world before. A lot of us might be entrepreneurs, might have an idea going into it. How can someone transition from working in another field to successfully starting or running a nonprofit organization?
Well, it's just like starting a business. You don't quit your day job until you have a good salary coming in the door. A lot of times people lose sight of the fact that this only difference between a for-profit and a nonprofit is the zero bottom line at the end of the year. Nonprofit shows. A for-profit, you have the extra money, and that's wonderful. Where a nonprofit is, you don't have the extra money at the end of the year. You want to have a zero bottom line balance. So you still run it a business. You're still saying, if I'm an employee, I have to pay employment taxes. I have to do X, Y, and Z the same way you do real business that is for profit. And you have to know, how am I going to get donors? How am I going to get people to make this able to cover my mortgage, my car payment, my groceries, all the things I need to have a nice lifestyle that I'm used to having in this big company. So I always say, don't quit your day job until you're at a place where this income is a replacement or more than you're making now.
Okay. How about like your average client? At what point, or at what pain points might somebody have that you're like, you need to talk to you talk to Ed first? Is it like right from conception? Do you prefer them to, be a couple weeks in, before board, or can they talk to you after maybe they've been running these issues, or how does that look?
I love to catch someone before they do anything. If you're just a brand new person that says, I have an idea, I want to talk to you right away. If you have it going, I want to talk to you because now I could sort of chat about where the challenges are. Um, Ideally, sometimes I run into people where, for all good measure, like the accountant tries to set something up, doesn't set up the entity the proper way. I've had two like this where the accountant set up a C corporation, not a 501(c)(3), just a straight C. It's a double taxation for-profit entity, um, which is a great tank corporation for certain types of businesses, but it's not ideal at all for charities, and that is a huge stumbling block. So I like to catch them right in the beginning, because if I have to roll back the clock, I will, and we'll do it right, and we'll get everything set up, and we'll walk through every step, and then introduce the accountant after it's all been set and put together, and say, okay, now go talk to this individual. They can help you keep it going.
Okay. How about power partnerships? Who are other industries or other professionals that you might be able to synergize well with, where maybe you have similar clients or able to refer back and forth or just help in different areas?
Generally, commercial insurance agents, because they have the nonprofits that need the D&O insurance. They have the liability insurance they need. And a lot of times those insurance agents have the individuals that are struggling. And obviously, if you're getting insurance plans paid for from those small charities and they fall apart, you lose the insurance plan. So you don't want to have that happen, because that's not good for your business bottom line. You want to grow, if anything, and say, hey, we need to kick this D&O insurance up more versus not so much. Bankers are another really good example, because bankers have people walking in the door and they struggle because they say, okay, you need to have board minutes to set up a bank account. You need to have this before you can do this. You need to have that before you do that. And to say, hey, talk to Ed. Ed will get you squared away. So when you come back, we could take your money, set your bank account up correctly, and then you're off and running.
Okay. Interesting. So I failed to ask earlier, but just out of curiosity, can you work anywhere in the US, or are you kind of just predominantly in certain regions, or?
My home office is in Central Florida, and I am a nationwide coach. So anyone that wants to start a charity within the continental United States, I can help you out. If you're out of country, I'm not the man, because I'm more specialized in United States charitable organizations. And that's, I know what I'm good at, and I stay in my lane, where a lot of people don't stay in their lane and they say, you know what? I'm going to have you help me set something up in Brazil. Well, I'm not familiar with that at all, and I don't want to go there. Um, so I just try to make sure everyone understands I'm United States only, and I could help you set up a charity in the United States.
Okay, awesome. Well, I know a lot of us, are kind of like me, where it's like I don't know too terrible much about the backside of it. The charities I interact with, I understand that I'm part of the Chamber of Commerce. We're a C6 or so. That's about as far into
Yeah.
it as I go. But if somebody's interested, how do they start a 501(c)(3) charity?
It's a multi-step process, and obviously you got to get the IRS involved. The state you're in, my state is Florida. You have to get them involved. You have to answer all the questions correctly, take care of all the supporting documents correctly. Because in some states, if you do a fundraiser and you don't let a certain state department know, they'll fine you $10,000 per donation you get in the door. So let's say you do a $900 donation fundraiser, and it's sort of like I got 10, 15 people to give me donations. I made $100, go team. The state finds about it, says, you know what? You never told us, you never filled out this license to do so. Now, those 15 people that 10, 15 people that gave you money, we're charging you $10,000 per individual, which is $100 to $150,000. So that $900 fundraiser that you're really excited about now is $100 to $150,000 loss. So it's really, really important that every step gets followed correctly and people know they do things in the proper order. So it just is a smooth event when they say, okay, we're going to do a fundraiser.
Okay. So that's a good starting point. But even a little bit before that, how do I know if I have a good idea for a charity?
That's a great question. I think it's in someone's heart. Like, who do you want to help serve in the community? Is it youth? Is it dogs and cats? Is it people that are sick? Do you want to research something for cancer related causes? Do you want to do something that maybe I haven't said? If you say, yeah, I do, and there's a benefit there, then it makes sense. Like I helped start up a charity for a scouting organization because charter organizations for the scout troops were like saying, hey, because of the bankruptcy, we're going to be out. So this charity said, we're going to step in and we're going to be the chart organization for those scout troops. So the scouts that want to get to Eagle Scout can do so uninterrupted. It's no longer a question if their church or whatever community organization could do it. Now they have that vehicle in place. And this charitable organization now has 8 to 10 different packs and troops that are chartered under it. So it's kind of exciting. And that's just one of many examples. So some of them are very nuanced, and someone might have something they come in the door with and say, I have a need, and this need is relevant. And it might be relevant to 100 people, might be relevant to the entire community. We don't know. And I kind of like it because every time someone brings something forward, we can hash it out. Because a lot of times it might be like looking at an onion, peeling the leaves of the onion open, and then ripping apart the end of the leaf and saying, here's the real meat. This is where the charitable piece lives. And people are like, oh, cool, great. So just determining and identifying what they're trying to do for the community good. And with that, I also help set up their mission statement with them. So it will be successfully passed by the IRS and by their local state. So that's a win-win too. So once they know, okay, I want to help goldfish. I don't know why, but let's say it's goldfish, and they have a real big plan for that. I will help make sure their mission statement encapsulates the idea of how the community is benefited from their focus of helping goldfish.
Okay, I gotcha. So somebody's had a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
They went through the process. They, successfully started their 501(c)(3). Now they're looking at, fundraisers. So how does a charity put on a good fundraiser?
I go back to the question to the board, what in your community is well received? Obviously, poker tournaments are great, but if you're in a community that is anti-gambling, you don't want to do a poker tournament. And it won't be well received at all. And you'll be like, I can't understand why no one showed up. On the flip side, if, I had a charity that did a beer tent and they made $18,000 a day for 3 days, which was tuned to about $60,000, give or take. And that was our budget for the year. And what they did is they got with the city. The city said, we do this big event. You can have a beer tent. And they said, okay, we're going to have our board members. We're all going to man tables. Wildly successful event. I walked them through, coached them through what they need to do. They did it. The community showed up. They bought a ticket to the beer tent, and they were raking in the dough. So a lot of times it comes down to a community understanding of what does your community want or not want, and then just sort of saying, this is where you need to steer towards. And then I have some ideas too. So if someone says, I got nothing, I'm drawing blanks, I could talk to them about golf tournaments. I could talk to them about dinners. I could talk to them about luncheons. I could talk to them about other specialty galas. I could talk to them about numerous different things and say, maybe these may work for you, and then go from there.
Awesome. Is there anything that I missed or failed to ask that you wanted to mention?
Um, I think the number one thing a person could do that wants to start a charity is just stop and take a moment and be thankful that they came up with the idea that can help the community. Because that thankfulness really is the key to having their charity keep on going and going and going, and knowing that, hey, I've been blessed with this idea and I could take action with this idea to make my home area better or my country better or whatever it might be.
Awesome. If somebody has an idea, or maybe they're starting, they're looking into, putting into fruition, how do they get a hold of you?
They can go to my website, which is actually just featured right behind me, edpisanijr.com, and they can go there, or they can call me. My telephone number is 407-416-1515, just to be like, hey, I'm looking for Ed, charity guy, to help me start up a charity, and I'll be glad to talk to him. Or they can send me an email at info@edpisanijr.com, and they can email me and say, I heard this video podcast, the audio podcast. I'm really interested. Let's set a time to meet, and I'll set up a Zoom call with them, and we'll get the ball rolling.
Perfect. Yeah, and I'll make sure to put all that in the description. So if you're like me and you're more of a copy and paster, you'll have to pause and try and type because I misspell things for a living. So, perfect. Well, if anybody'd like to get a hold of it, absolutely do it. We could use more nonprofits and more charities, people solving problems out there. So the more the merrier. If you're a little shy and you prefer an introduction, just ask me. I'm more than happy to make that three-way introduction for you. But other than that, if anybody out there would like to be interviewed, you can reach out to me as well below Ed's links and everything. I'm going to have my link tree. Feel free to grab a time. I'd love to have a conversation. But Ed, I really appreciate you coming on and pouring into us. I know I've had a lot of questions about the charity side of things because, I've worked with them, but I don't know anything about it. So I'm going to have to probably pick your brain a little bit more when we hop off here. But I really appreciate you coming on and sharing that with us. So let's all get
Absolutely.
out there, do some good things, and meet some more people. All right.
Yeah, and thank you so much for having me on the show again. I appreciate you.
It's my pleasure.